We have the library option over here, which gives us access to the data sets within all the other packages, internal as well as the external downloaded packages in R. So if you click over here, you see the first one, which is the mass package, and within the mass package you have the AB data set, right? So if you remember, the Boston data set which we had also is part of the mass package. Now this is not quite user friendly because you cannot just type the name of the data set or the package name to browse or filter it, right? So we cannot do that. So the only option over here is that you have to browse manually and check for the file or the package and the corresponding data set. Now let's look at the mass package, and we remember the Boston data set. So you can see this is the anorexia data set in mass package. No, we are not going to use it. The animals data set above that also is not for us. We are typically looking at the housing data set, the Boston housing data set, which you have used in your course before this, right? So it makes sense to use something which you're already aware of. So you might see that the same package keeps on repeating again and again with a different data set. So here is the mass package with the Boston data set. You have the mass package with the biopsy data set also above this, and before this also we have seen 4-5 different data sets within the mass package. Okay, so what we are interested right now is the Boston data set within the mass package, right? So we can go for this one. You are already aware of all the details of this data set, and anyway we are just looking at the process. Okay, so now we can go ahead and extract this data from the package. So we have to execute this. Press on the execute button over here. So we can click on the partition, or we can keep the partition off. The target data over here is auto, categorical, numeric, survival. So we are interested in auto because if there is a class based data which typically qualifies to be called as a classification variable, it would be by default selected as the target variable or the dependent variable. But sometimes, depending upon the type of data, the wrong variable might also be selected. In that case, we have to manually change that selection. But obviously there is an auto option which is very useful. We'll now press the execute button. So the data is in. You can see that the wrong variable has been classified. CHAS has been classified as target variable, basically because CHAS is having just two distinct elements, 0 and 1, each of them specifying that you are away from the River Charles or closer to the River Charles. So though we see that there is a auto target variable selection, there are chances that because of the form of the data, the class in the data being say a 2-level class or a 3-level class, it has a possibility that it might select the wrong variable as the target variable. So you have to use the functional aspects or learnings in the data and reallocate this as a target variable to an input or a dependent variable. Okay, so that's what we have done. Obviously, if this is the one misclassification, there has to be the other one. That means that there has to be a target variable which was wrongly classified as the input one, right? So an dependent variable was misclassified as an independent variable. That in this case is MEDV. That's our experience, right? So we will have to remove that and change it and see how it looks, right? So let's do that over here. So I'm using this and marking this as a target variable, making it the dependent variable for our further algorithms. Okay, so that's what we have done. Although we might see that there is no change as such as of now. In the bottom tray, you can see target is CHAS. Now we have to execute this. That is where it will take effect on the data which we have kept in Rattle. Okay, you also have this ignore option, which you can select to ignore any of the variables which you don't want in your analysis or in your tests or in the modeling bit also, right? As of now, we are not executing that and just pressing execute to see what happens. Now observe on the bottom tray 506 observations, 13 input variables. The target is MEDV as we want, and it is of class numeric. So this makes it a good fit for a regression model, and that's what it is saying. It's enabled for regression models. That means we can go ahead and use it for regression models. The other options like the logistic regression wouldn't be enabled for this data set. For that we need to have a class-based data as the dependent variable. Okay, so this is how we can take the data, ingest the data. We have other options as well, right? For example, we have the corpus that is for text mining specifically. That's beyond the ambit of our use case studies. We have the script option also over here, wherein if you already know a little bit about Toad and all Notepad++ scripting, wherein you basically write a small script to download the data or upload the data from a web server or from an server-based environment, SQL or Oracle. That's also one thing which you can engage. Okay, so as of now we have seen the various options superficially. To a certain extent we have seen how we can import a data within the libraries, right? And we can simultaneously explore how to get the data from a file also, right? So I would encourage all of you to go ahead and use at least the file, then the library options to get the data and work on these data sets.